Hello, advanced and intermediate patrons. I hope you are well. Welcome to Ask James, my regular YouTube live stream where I welcome questions from the patrons. Yeah, behind the paywall this week. Can't be dealing with nonsense during the fucking international break. Actually, I normally can because Ask James streams are better the further away from the deadline they are. But it's brought to you for you guys this week. It's just gone 3:30 p.m. UK time. Thanks for those joining live or have submitted questions. It's very much appreciated. Keep them coming. This stream will end when I've gone through all the questions, unless I'm still sitting here in 2 hours, in which case I'm going down the pub to meet Stian. Shout out, brother. Hope you're well. Yeah, if anyone fancies a drink in Up the Street this evening, if you're in the London area, anything from about 6 p.m.-ish onwards, feel free to join us. Let's get into questions. Adam Cooper's first says, hi, James. Thinking of doing Atalanta-Napoli away this year. What's your experience of Italy like as an away fan? Not big, because I've only done the San Siro, Adam. So I can't believe I'd ever go to Napoli. Never had good stories about it. It's not just a club thing. It was an absolute fucking ball ache for England fans when England won in Naples a couple of years ago. So no particular want to go there. Atalanta would appeal more. Smaller stadium, so more difficult to get hold of a ticket, I should imagine. But probably just go to Bergamo, which is actually where I flew to when I last went to Milan. So my only experiences are of Milan. So probably not best place to comment. Like any away European game, don't fuck about going in the stadium late. Go in early. The police out there, I've found, are fine, as long as you're fine, pretty much. So they're pretty hot on their security. They're probably going to tell you some things you don't like. Not the sort of people that I'd want to piss off, but otherwise fine, mate. James Brennan says, hi, James. Is the meetup still on tonight? Also, do you expect it to go reasonably late as can only get there for 8-ish? Thanks. I'd be very surprised, James, if we're not still there at 8 o'clock. The only thing I'd say is if you're coming that late, just drop us a message. This is so shit for a stream, Mark. 90% of you are like, fuck off, James, don't care. Just drop us a message first, James, on Slack. Just in case we move for any reason, probably be the point. But if we move, we won't move far. Weather looks like it's all right, so I'm hopeful we'll be able to sit outside kind of in the front garden. That's my hope at this point. But yeah, drop us a message. I can't believe anyone's going home at 8 o'clock. At the same time, I don't anticipate still being there at midnight either. But once I've had a few, you never know. Andrew Parker says, hi, mate. How many times do you reckon you get asked what Liverpool starting front four will be next week? Don't know, Andrew. I don't know. Should we count it from here on in? I know what it will be anyway. It will be, subject to injury, it will be Salah, Gakpo, Ekiteke. It's nothing to add to that. Andrew says, also on free hit this week, who do you think could be the best punts to have? And feelings on doubling up on teams versus covering all teams with the best clean sheet odds like Munoz, Lacroix versus Munoz and Burn. So like all those picks are fine and certainties to play as long as they come back from international duty. Okay, Dan Burn's not in the England squad, I don't think, is he? But the other two will obviously be away. Is Lacroix away? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he is. I think it's probably not actually. Okay, here's how I'd tell it to you. I haven't looked at a free hit draft. Me and David will go through that on the weekend next week. And probably stuff I do for the midweek dilemma will maybe be interesting as well. 100% I'd be going for Treble Palace. It's not a slight on Sunderland. I'd just be going for Treble Palace. Now, at the moment, there's only one Palace attacker to pick. It's Mateta. So he's an absolute shoo-in. And therefore, I'd be going double Palace defence. I would be going treble Liverpool. Right, that's 6. Newcastle. The problem with Newcastle at the moment is picking the attacking ones a bit awkward. So I think one defensive one, yes, seems absolutely right. Fulham, Leno's, Anderson's, probably not Josh King as a starter. Rodrigo Muniz is a slight risk, but you'd think international break's possibly helpful for him. I'm going to guess Jimenez is playing for Mexico. I don't factually know that, but that should only help his prospects. I think Muniz is probably a good one to look at for free hit. Chelsea, okay. Wouldn't mind a defensive one. Don't mind João Pedro. That's probably roughly, and Arsenal fine as well. I think probably all in, if we look at that, it's probably, you could skip Liverpool defence and you literally could go Salah, Ekateke, Gakpo. I think that you could do that, but going particularly Van Dijk, I think for this week's also fine. I said double Palace, probably one Newcastle. So there's a chance you're going to end up here with about 4, I think. And that's all right. That's okay. Don't pick like 3 forwards because you feel you have to, or a midfield 5 because you feel like you have to. Probably does lean into some defensive options quite decent this week. So ultimately, the double up or the versus is up to you to decide. But I know that I'd definitely be going treble Palace, and therefore by default, I might be going double Palace defence. So on that one, Munoz Lacroix versus Munoz and Burn, I'll be going Munoz and Lacroix. But there is then the chance you're going with no Newcastle. But the Palace is stronger. Even in a fixture like Sunderland at home, it's not impossible for them to be picking up the DEFCONs. Better attacking threats as well. Even Lacroix over probably any Newcastle defensive player, I'd say, in terms of chances for an attacking return. So double Palace for me, mate. Lamichi says, hi James, hope you're well. Thoughts on best Saar replacement under 7 million? Already have Reinders, Everton mids, Harvey Elliott, Paquetá on my mind. Won't be any of them for me. So I said on the Zoom call Wednesday, I think. Friday already is, isn't it? That there were 3 players under consideration for me. Palmer, just go back, just reverse the transfer. Semenyo or Josh King. Those were the 3 under consideration for me. Now, none of them is a solution for you, either Lamichi, unless you want to drop to King and potentially look at moving something else up. The Everton midfielders don't interest me, personally, at this moment. I see a tough run of fixtures. I think particularly Dewsbury Hall is like it's fine because you're coming down really cheap. Otherwise, no real interest. I want goal scorers. I don't want assisters. So Jack, I'm sure will take over fine. He ain't going to be getting 2 assists every week. And Dye, it's okay. I get that's the most likely scorer from the 3. So I'd possibly be tempted to take that route, but it wouldn't be for me. Villa, as per the discussion I know you were having on the Villa Slack channel today on Elliott, is like a wait. We don't even know where he's going to play at this stage. Reinders is fine, but I think it probably only falls under that. You are under 7, so that would even rule out punting something like Xavi Simons. Simons probably does go straight into the Tottenham team. Can't say that's a certainty, by the way, but probably does go straight in, I think. Choices aren't great. Reality. So rather than forcing in something you don't like, is the best option, therefore, is it King? And the beauty with Josh King at the moment is in the short term, I don't want to drop that. Okay, fine. He has got Leeds at home. I think we'll have a discussion on Sunday about a little bit of a concern about his minutes moving forward. I say Sunday because that's when I'm recording with, so sorry, it'll be out Monday. But I don't think it'll be a concern for game week 4. And that's a great one. Go Josh King, playing 10 position at home to Leeds. So truthfully, my answer, Lamichi, is under 7 million. It probably would be Josh King. Leave the money, open the game out for you to look at moving that. Maybe it will help with a Haaland move in 6 or something like that. That's the one I'd advise at this moment. I think if I'm going low, if I'm going under 7 million, that's where I'm going, is King. I'd start King over Dewsbury Hall in 4. John Donahue says, hi James, do you see a cheap midfield and going heavy up top and defence as a viable option this season? Hated my first 3 weeks of my team and looking to tear it up and go again from game week 4. So I say the same thing and I say this every single year. The template will move. So at this moment, you'd look at the midfielders and you'd have question marks over Salah in a couple of weeks. Obviously not for this forthcoming week. But in terms of midfielders of interest to you at the moment, I would guess that a lot of them are, let's say, in the Semenyo kind of bracket, just a little bit more expensive than what Lamichi wants, but also cheaper than Verts. There's a few in the 7 to 8 million range that are potentially quite interesting, including some new ones coming into the league, like Simmons maybe. You've still got Morgan Rogers with good fixtures, etc. It's probably in that range. However, you cheap out that midfield, and we fast forward here to game week 9. There's a strong possibility you're going to want Palmer and Saka in there. Right. What does that mean to you? What does that mean to you? I'm not saying that's even going to be the case, but I do know that templates in FPL may well be formed after 3 game weeks. Not only do those templates change, the systems nearly always change. Every year. Every year we have things like this. Go 2 up front, and it always changes. Always, always, always. So I wouldn't set yourself into that, and I would look for a greater balance within your squad structure at the moment. There's a scenario for me at the moment where the most expensive midfielder I've got is Wirtz. But I've just spoken about being able to go back Sarr to Palmer, and the idea would have been just leave the money in the bank for a bit, right? Sarr hadn't got injured, would have probably been looking to roll this week. So I recommend not being too far away from those midfield points. Now, if you're keeping Salah as part of that structure, and your next most expensive midfielder is, say, like Semenyo, for example, fine, because those 2 players, Semenyo and Salah, can become, for example, Palmer and Saka. Gary Reza's in, says, afternoon, mate. As far as I can tell from research and community notes, quotes about Garnacho's professionalism from Scaloni and Sancho from Bolly are both fake. They both just upset the same fan base. Yeah, Tom Johnson had already messaged me that as well. I'd seen it, and as I went to speak about it, Gary, I thought, is there a chance that quote I saw wasn't real? So I stopped myself short, essentially, on the podcast. So I'm glad I didn't follow through and say what I'd read as the quote. So yeah, as I spoke about it, I thought, hang on, I'm not sure this is right. It doesn't feel right. And sometimes, Gary, as you'll know, shit pops into my head and I just say it. So I hadn't planned to say that about Sancho. It came into my head and I said it. And as I said it, I thought, I'm not sure that's right. Back off a little bit. So, yeah, I'm not surprised to hear that, but thank you for clarifying. Jack says, Mo Salah's record since the Carabao Cup final now reads, played 13, 3 goals, 2 assists. No player priced over 13 million has been top FPL scorer in 20 years. Will he ever escape Tino Livramento's pocket? Yeah, because he only has to play him once more this season, and probably when he plays him, probably end up being Lewis Hall instead in that position. So, yeah, I get the jest element to this. There's probably a wider conversation about Mo at the moment. I suggest none of you do fuck all about that at the moment if you own. He's the best captain in game week 4, I think, by a distance. 3 hitters this week, I think, should captain him. There's the conversation to be had afterwards, possibly even immediately. But I would say probably not for the Everton game. But for 6, yeah, there's going to be an obvious potential conclusion for many people that involves Haaland. Gary says, not an actual question, admittedly, just a point I felt worth making. If you'd like a question, I could just put false. Cheers, Gary. No, I appreciate you putting me right on it, mate. I'm happy to be corrected, buddy. Piers McBride says, good afternoon, James. Which player do you think would have given Liverpool more chance of achieving their trophy ambitions for this season? Isak or Mark Gay? Isak. Isak, because I think he's the best 9 in the world, personally. I think he's going to absolutely tear it up, particularly if he wasn't given it Newcastle 100%, as has been alluded to by Luke Edwards from The Telegraph. Then what does a fully firing Isak do? Well, saw that in the autumn and the spring, and I just think when he's at it, he's unplayable. I think later in this season, I will want and I will captain regularly. I think I can see him being the most expensive player in my team for much of this season. That's my instinct. I'm not rushing to go there, by the way. And to repeat what I said earlier, I don't think he's going to start game week 4. The answer is Isak. Now, if we work out in a kind of a parallel universe here, Piers, where Kanate and Van Dijk get injured, then the correct answer is obviously Gay. if Joe Gomez can cover for a little bit of rotation for Konate and Van Dijk stays fit, with potentially as you were for Liverpool, and Isak is, it's difficult to say game changer for the team that comfortably won the league, but it's next level shit. Mark Gay is an outstanding defender. Really, really rate him. Agree. I think what Sam said on Slack, I would like to see Gay and Konsa together for England in Serbia next week. See what that looks like. I think he's an outstanding defender. But I don't think he's a certainty to have gone straight in the Liverpool team. Now, we're also saying obviously Isak won't, but we won't because they don't need to. If Liverpool didn't have a number 9 who'd started quite well, and Hugo Ekitike may well be starting at Burnley in game week 4. So the answer is Isak, because the ambitions of what Liverpool want to achieve this year is win the Premier League and win the Champions League. And Isak is the sort of difference maker that could help them do that. Connor Pertz says, hi James, I remember a couple of seasons ago you were very high on Garnacho as a player, wondering how you rate him now. His sale has split the United fan base and Chelsea fans seem unconvinced. Yeah, I think he's, let's use the word talent, because I think that's right. I think he's a super player, personally. I think there's still a lot of erraticness in his play. I don't actually, however, have any doubts that he'll become first choice at Chelsea. Might be that it's not good enough and he comes back out, but I fully expect him to become first choice at Chelsea. I've spoken over the last couple of years from a fancy perspective, believing he could be something. I started with him at 5 million a couple of years ago. And I think he did quite well. And I said a lot last year that I felt that there would be a point where we'd want to go there. And I went there roundabouts the time, I can't remember if it was just before or just after Ten Hag got sacked, and then it kind of unravelled with Amorim and then the system change and stuff. I think Alejandro Garnacho has huge talent and huge potential, and I do think he'll be first choice for Chelsea. And I think he'll probably do well. I actually think, I don't know what Gary's opinion on this would be, but I think Chelsea is a suitable football club for a man with an ego. I think it fits nicely, and I think he'll do well. Tom Johnson says, boring FPL 1, start 8 Nori or Elliot Anderson game week 4. 8 Nori, mate. Alex told you he thought that he doesn't think United will score it. Yes, he had. So, I'm not sure that's truly what Alex thinks, but he went for a 0-0 prediction, didn't he? Yeah, 8 Nori for me. Anderson's at Arsenal. Yeah, might hit Defcon's great. You expecting anything else? Oh, I think you get 4 points. Okay, that's great. I'd rather go for the guy that's more likely to get me 15. Straightforward one, that for me. FPL Gas Dan says, hello James, with so many good defensive options in 4, Liverpool, Arsenal, Newcastle, Palace, is 4-4-2 a decent move for a free hit? Yeah, as said, Dan. Fine. It'd be interesting to see. I said me and Dan will do some, we know a number of you on free hits, so we'll do free hit drafts again on the weekend next Friday. I'm interested to see how it will land. Like I kind of alluded to earlier, probably would know sort of maybe 7 or so of it. But yeah, I'd say it's a strong possibility. Back 4. Might even be a back 5. It's not impossible. I got Munoz, Lacroix, Cher, Gabriel, and I've missed someone else. Van Dijk. Could easily be that. Uros Milicevic says, hi James, I'm using my wild card this week. Which of the following options do you prefer? Option 1, Salah, but no Haaland. Free hit in 6. Option 2, Haaland, but no Salah. Option 3, both Salah and Haaland. I can't see what your reasoning would be for free hit 6, bar putting in treble Manchester City. There are other teams you can attack that week. Tottenham would be one. Villa, I'm not saying it's a particularly bad week. Everton, another one maybe. I'm not saying it's a particularly bad week, but I can't see versus what your wildcard team would want it to be, whether I know that's a good choice or not. Again, I'll do a wildcard draft next week. I think because I wouldn't have transfers in the bank, I would just go Haaland and not bother with Salah, I think. Because I know it's an inevitable, it's another 2 transfers. So then I'm weighing it up over 2 games. And you can still captain Haaland this week, it's fine. I think I would just go Haaland now. have it in place and ready, and be looking to spread that from sort of game week 9 onwards back towards Palmer. So I think if it were me, again, I might give you a different answer or us next week when I actually put a draft together, but I suspect I'd be very happy at the moment to go Gakpo and maybe Van Dijk, and leave that set for Isak as the third at some point when ready. CTN, hello my friend, I know you're new around here, good to see you. It says best burger in London. Christ, I haven't got a good answer for that. I don't think I've got a good answer to that. Best burger in London. Tell you what, that Arch is something. You can get that in a few places. Me and Steve was talking about that on the Zoom call the other day. Fucking Arch, size of it. That's not it though. Best burger in London. I couldn't give you a specific place, mate. I couldn't, I don't think. I couldn't. I'm just trying to wrap my brain of places I've been. It's not the sort of place thing I'd normally, I'm going out for dinner, I'll choose a burger. Probably wouldn't actually. So I'm not that well placed to say. I would say something that specialises in burgers. I can't think of anything. Sorry, mate. James Brennan says, could you give your top 5 individual player seasons in the Premier League? I rule out picking any Henry, Salah or Ronaldo seasons to make it more interesting. So you're talking all time here, James. Give your top 5 individual player seasons in the Premier League. Okay, first name in mind is Eden Hazard. I'm just trying to think of the appropriate year for him. Gary would tell better if the answer to that is 14-15 or 16-17. I think it's probably, mind you, it's 17-18 was pretty good. I mean, even 18-19. I'm going to say 14-15 Hazard. That's when he had that performance when we beat Chelsea 5-3, and he was a fucking joke. He was ridiculous. I'm going to say Hazard 14-15. I can't remember if he won Player of the Year that year or not, but that feels about right. So say Hazard 14-15. I will say Bale 12-13. His last year with Tottenham. Man was having his fucking own goal of the month fucking collection every month, basically, it felt like. I feel like there should be a Roy Keane year in now. Maybe the treble season, or maybe even the season after, 99-2000. Very different type of player to others mentioned there. Rodri. Similar, very recently, maybe the treble year with City. N'Golo Kante, the Leicester and Chelsea title winning seasons, so 15-16, 16-17. Kevin De Bruyne, maybe 17-18, the Centurion season, maybe. I feel like there's a number of good shouts in there. James Johnson says, shag, marry, kill. Mourinho, Levy, Ledley, King. I mean, fairly straightforward. And well, certainly the kill element is. It's kill Mourinho, isn't it? Shag or marry Levy or Ledley King? Shag Ledley, marry Levy, he's got more money. FPL Gas Dan says, to elaborate on the 4-4-2 question, it makes Salah and Haaland much easier to fit in. I mean, so if that helps, it's not necessarily the bad thing. I think free hitters will be tempted by putting them both in, because there isn't accessibility to Palmer, Saka, Isak, other players in that 10-11-ish range. There isn't accessibility to. Even if Palmer is kind of given the thumbs up, I don't think you go him on a free hit. So fine, mate. Bimble says, bitch. Should have said Wimble bitch. Bimble says, which left wing do you think Spurs should sign in January transfer window? And which centre back? Not sure if we'll be doing any business in January. I mean, the state of this fucking squad. So we've left out Dragoshin, Takai, Bissouma, Kulusevski, Maddison, and Tell. We've left them all out the Champions League squad because the homegrown element of it has been so fucked that we've had to go 3 players short. But then you have to rewind that and go, well, even if you weren't 3 players short, you're still leaving out 3 others. Yep, you're absolutely right. Now, maybe if Dragoshin had not done his ACL, maybe we wouldn't have bought Danso. Maybe if Maddison hadn't done his ACL, we wouldn't have bought Simmons. Maybe Takai's not ready. Okay, then maybe the squad might be manageable. So I think it's more going to be about outgoings. Because clearly, if everybody was fit, there's too many players. I mean, left wing alone, you could play Johnson, Mawani, Tell, Odebear, Simmons. You put Kudus out there. You put Udogie in front of Spence. Jesus. Are there any of them any good for that position? I don't know. That's why I said this morning, I more thought about it, more I suspect Mawani might end up out there. So, yeah, there's major problems with the squad. One of Odebear or Tell should have gone out on loan, which would have been better than this awkwardness would have left Tell out of the European squad now. The player I was looking for, Bimbo, I thought would have been right for us is Ademola Lookman. The ITKs seem to be suggesting that it was probably an easy deal for Tottenham to complete. I think we don't quite know the prognosis yet on Solanke, but I think it made people worried that they couldn't just rely on just having Richarlison. And Tell's not really a 9 from what I've seen. And obviously you've lost the ability to play. Son obviously previously could have played that position in an emergency. So I think it made them panic. And clearly, because of the squad registration issues, what was we going to do? Buy 2 players, buy Lookman as well, and then leave Odebear out of the European squad as well. Like, it's messy, isn't it? The club committed to those 2 players. So they've either got to get on with it or move them out eventually. So as it stands, I don't think Tottenham be doing anything. And even if you think about the centre-back position, well, Dragoshin will be back by then. I'm not a huge lover of him, but unless Tottenham can basically move him on, what are you going to go and buy for, really? I mean, Hincapie would have been a great one in terms of an understudy left-footed for Mickey van der Ven. So I think a left-footed one, you even forget Ben Davies is there, right? A left-footed one would be ideal. Maybe we'll go back and ask Marinakis about Murillo. I'm joking before any of the Forest guys come for me. It's more about outgoings, mate. Let's see how these lads do for a little bit, mate. Owen Wilson says, thoughts on Levy's son still taking control and on Spurs' European squad choices. All of that's news to me, so probably not appropriate that I comment on it. I would say I did see something about Levy's son this morning about wanting to stay involved. It's a fucking wet wipe as far as I can see, mate, and would want that removed. Matt Bryant says, hello, mate. Hope you and family are well. Not keen on Sarr replacements at the same price. Would you reckon to hit to go Sard, Semenyo, Murillo to Lacroix, Senesi? The cautiousness with the moving of the Forest players is the afterwards, isn't it? It's 5 and 6. And as I've said, the DEFCONs haven't been there in fixtures that we wouldn't expect. It could still comfortably be back-to-back clean sheets, 5 and 6. Now, Forest, I don't think have kept a clean sheet since either the end of March or start of April. I think Manchester United early April. I think it's probably the last clean sheet. There's a lot being said about their overperformance against Data defensively last year. Maybe it's catching up with them. I don't particularly want to move them before 5 and 6, and it then is an obvious out route from Nottingham Forest if you've got a little bit of money in the bank to an Arsenal player, Matt, in game 7. So there's a clear out. So not hugely keen on it. On Semenyo, interesting. I've been thinking this because he's very much under consideration for me, and he's already like 7.4, isn't he? What is it that I've seen in 3 weeks that makes me want a player at 7.4 that boiled the piss out of most of us at 5.6 last year. Now he's developed. He's become a better player. I saw with my eye he was great at Tottenham last week. Should have got more against Wolves. But then you'd also say maybe the 2 goals at Liverpool's an overperformance, right? We know he loves to shoot on sight. What is it at 7.4 that makes you want to buy him now when he probably boiled your piss last year? Maybe he didn't, Matt. But it asks you to think about that. Think about it. Because I'm thinking about it. I'm not saying I won't buy him, mate. I think a no. I prefer what I'd advised to Lamici earlier and consider Josh King. SW6 Upro says, Wagwan James. Hello, my friend. Ryan Quinn says, James, what's Liverpool's starting front 4 next week? Lol. It's not funny though, Ryan, is it? Us nearly taking Paquetá might have been though, weren't it? Can I ask your thoughts on Villa? Do you think Elliott and Sancho can provide them with some impetus, or are we going to see more of the same? What have we seen that's more of the same? So, struggled so far this season, right? Conceded an early goal to Brentford, had 74% possession, struggled to create. They don't have players that are of creativity quality, let's say, right? Like your Asensio's, players like that. Great carriers like Rodgers. Creativity from a pass is Tielemans from a deeper role, isn't it? Let's consider a couple of things here. One, Crystal Palace, well documented, just seems to have their fucking number. 2, there's been some really strange Villa Newcastle games in the last few years where both teams have given the other a bit of a slapping. Probably some learnings from Eddie Howe in terms of the slapping Newcastle got on the last occasion they played each other and lost 4-1. They were mitigating in Villa's first 3 games. Newcastle got the best underlying record defensively so far this season, kept clean sheets in 2 away games in different systems against very different type of opponents, and they also played Liverpool at home. Doesn't mean Newcastle are going to be the best defensive side in this league, by the way. But I do think there were plenty of reasons that can explain away some of what we've seen from Villa so far. Would not be surprised if Villa do really well over the next number of weeks. In terms of Semenyo and Elliott specifically, as per the Weekender this morning, I think the Elliott signing is an outstanding one. Very good player. Really like him. Jadon Sancho is, for me, is Villa repeating mistakes. I hope he does really well. I think he had spells where he did really good at Chelsea. Like, I thought he was outstanding actually when Chelsea won at White Hart Lane last season. But not enough in terms of consistency and output. And it's a familiar tale of, I have to get someone on loan because I can't buy them. So I'll give someone on loan 200 grand a week or whatever he's on. I mean, if they're paying 8% of his salary, I'd suggest it's probably it's a lot more than that. So Sancho, miss, Elliott, hit. There we go. I think both will probably be first choice. I'm interested to see what Suja's opinion on that will be. I think it might free up Rodgers to go back in the 10 position. That would be helpful. And Villa against sides that are a bit more open in that area may well do well. Generally in forthcoming weeks. Chris Smith says, hello mate, hope you're good. What's your take on the City keeper situation? Donnarumma doesn't seem to be a typical Pep keeper, and I feel for Trafford, who probably joined thinking he gets the shirt. So, I mean, the best thing I can say to that, Chris, is to point you to Clash of Correspondence, because I think me and Johnny have a great conversation about that, and Johnny wholeheartedly agrees with pretty much that statement that you've just said. He doesn't feel right at all. But Johnny, I think, was also quite right to say, look, Champions League knockout stages, it might be the difference between winning a game and losing a game. And I certainly accept that. But it doesn't feel right at all. Dermot Whelan says, hi James, for the week that's in it, what's the best 11 of Levy's time at Spurs? Also, the best signing player you wish was never sold. Right, so what's the best 11 of Levy's time at Spurs? Well, that's pretty simple, right? So I could go through my all-time Tottenham team from when I've been watching the team, and there'd only be one player in it that's pre-Levy, and that's Gascoigne. so the rest of the team picks itself. Then it's a case of putting extra player in. So Loris in goal, Walker, Alderweireld, Vertonghen, not Vertonghen, King, and then probably Vertonghen at left back or Danny Rose at left back. Could make that a back three, couldn't I? That could be my solver there. Stick Jan in left-sided centre back, play Danny Rose wing back. Modric and Dembele. Son on the left, Bell on the right, Kane up front. I just got to put one more player in. There's different ways of doing that. I could put, say, a Jan in with Danny Rose, go back three. I could put someone like Michael Carrick in. I know wasn't with the club all that long, but just outstanding. I could put him in to sit behind Modric and Dembele. It's not a bad midfield three. Or I could go a bit old school, put another one up front, go with Berbatov. He's probably between that. You can't really go to up front with Bale in there, can you? Could you get Modric Dembele? The better setup there would be the right answer is Michael Carrick, I think. As he's not the same player as Gascoigne, obviously, but just fit Michael Carrick in there to sit behind them rather than Gascoigne sitting in front of them. Also, the best signing and player you wish was never sold. Bale, I suppose. Perfectly understandable. There wasn't an ounce of anger when Gareth Bale left Tottenham Hotspur because he went and joined the biggest club in the world and deserved the right to go and do that. So I suppose that Bale is the answer. FPL guest Dan said, did you see where Emi Martinez's brother said his brother is at Aston Villa? The Diego Maradona of Napoli, Messi of Barca. Right, okay. So it's not just Dubu. He's a bit deluded, right? It's a family trait. Cool. Mr. Feeper99 says, how many transfers would be your threshold to use the transfers take a hit versus pulling a wild card? I think if we're looking at -8s at this stage, we should probably be considering it. It's not saying -8 can't work, but I think if I'm sitting there going, I want to take this -8, it's probably not the only things you want to do. So, yeah, maybe that. I wouldn't have a set target from that perspective. Hits are fine. I mean, if I get, I don't know, let's give you a hypothetical. João Pedro gets injured this week. I'm probably taking a -4 this week. If I get 3 injuries, would I take a -8? Probably not. Would it force me to wild card? Probably not. But I think, yeah, if you're seriously looking at a -8, probably consider if that's right. But 8, I just think there'd be so much more value in using that wild card later on. That's personal opinion. Bimble says, just to go back to the individual player season, Ginola when he won double Footballer of the Year. Yeah, but don't tell Gary Robinson that. He'll have a right paddy, will Gary. All right, guys. Odin Gilmore says, what's your go-to pint? These days, probably a pint of cider, actually. Like a pint of inches these days. But winter's coming round, so that might change now. So I do like me a Brewdog. Fucking gassy things, though. Andrew says, speaking of leaving out homegrown players from the squads, how bizarre is it from Forest leaving out Hutchinson? Record transfer signing left out European squad in general seems bizarre. It does, but they're not the only ones this week that seem to have been, I don't even necessarily want to say caught out. That one seems strange, particularly, but I've just spoken about Tottenham's problems. Doesn't quite sit right, but the young player, Tottenham left Jed Spence out this time last year, and he obviously forced his way back in. So it's not a closure on for him or for Matisse Tell. What I didn't get time to check up on was if one of the new signings had also been called up instead of him, which did seem a bit strange. Maybe a suggestion that it's not a player that Nuno rates, but it's a club signing, as was kind of the case with Jed Spence, actually. Yeah, it seems a bit weird. I'm sure the guys on the Forest channel can enlighten that a bit better. Looks like Gary's going to have the final word here, guys. If you've got any more, throw them in quick. Gary says, agree on Hazard in that the 2 title seasons are tough to split. In my opinion, the Surrey 18-9 season, we finished 6th or lower without him, so it needs mentioning. Don't have an actual answer. It's interesting that you don't even have a definitive preference. He had mentioned, I'm sure the 18-19, was that the goal against West Ham? He was having a little unplayable period there, wasn't he? I feel like that's the right season. Gary says, as for egos, I've always said give me an ego over a Mudryk Werner who shrink and hide when it gets tough. I can't really argue against that, but I also think there's an influence for you in terms of egos. Not necessarily egos might be harsh, but these big personality players have worked well for you. Now, we don't actually know if Garnacho will be a big personality or not. But I definitely think he's got an ego. But he'd have a long way to go to these big personality players like Drogba's, Hazard's, Lampard's, Terry's, Czech's, etc. Right? But you know, I don't think he's got any lack of self-confidence, mate. I think it's a good signing as long as he's managed internally correctly. That would be it. All right, gang. That's your questions done. We'll leave it there. Much love. Next week, me and Suj are going to do a bit of a kind of run through of best 11s for the main podcast for Monday. Got some visuals planned for that for YouTube as well, so it might be a good one to watch on YouTube. Tuesday, COTC's Bournemouth Brighton with Neil and Sam. Wednesday, COTC West Ham Tottenham, Chris and Ricky. Thursday, Ash James, I think. Friday, the weekender. Patreon pods, Q&A Monday. UCL, we're going to kind of dive into the fixtures Tuesday. Quiz Wednesday. Victor's going to do a quiz for me. Thursday, being dad. And Friday, diff show. And I'll be around for all of it because this jury service bollocks has not existed. It's all been great. Right, love you lots, guys. If you're coming out for a drink tonight, come and find us. Look forward to seeing you. Otherwise, patrons, thank you for your continued support. Have a great weekend. For the benefit of those on the audio, cue music, please. Man child.